everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast brought to you by Tacticam. Tacticam is by far the easiest way to begin filming your hunts. Whether it's a budget-friendly solo or the 4K 5.0, Tacticam has something for everyone. Check them out at tacticam.com. We're also working this year with Spartan Forge. Spartan Forge is machine learning for the deer woods. So Spartan Forge has millions of data points all put together to tell you the best time to be in the woods. They use collared deer studies, they use auto accidents, they use social media pictures, they use all of that data comprised to figure out where the deer are going to be. The same artificial intelligence that's used to track bad guys in the Middle East and all over the world, that's what they're using to figure out deer patterns. And deer move differently in the south than they do in the northeast than they do in the Midwest. So this data is specific to your location based on all of these things being reported. Now, I just had a long conversation with Bill about the new features that are coming. So there's going to be some updates, and with the updates, there's going to be price increases. So if you were to sign up right now, the price is locked in for as long as you have the subscription service, and an app is being built right now, and that's coming here very shortly. So it's going to be a little bit more user friendly, and like I said, there's a ton of features that are really awesome. We were talking about like things that I would want to see in an app, and he's like, "Yep, that's going to be in there." Oh, that's a great idea. Let's try and figure out how we can make it, I mean, just the most ideal app for the hunter. And I don't know if you've been paying attention. You need to follow Spartan Forge on social media. He's announcing the pro staff, or the guys that are using this, that are testing this. And already has been Garrett Prawl and Greg Litzinger. But just out now is Johnny Stewart, Taylor Chamberlain, Parker McDonald, and Andy May. Some like tremendous hunters and guys that spend a ton of time in the woods. I mean, Taylor, hunts 200 to 250 days a year. For him to be able to say, yes, this is working, this is what I'm seeing. I mean, that's an incredible asset to have on their team to kind of verify that this is working. And Andy May is like one of the most efficient killers that's out there. He's actually next week's guest on the Vitals Live, so next Tuesday. So if you're one of the Patreons, be looking in your messages for that. This week is going to be Greg Litzinger, another guy on this list. So if you haven't checked out the Vitals Live, you can go do that, or our Patreons get that linked to come and have a one-on-one session with the guys on the Vitals Live. But Spartan Forge, like I said, big things are coming. You can use code Bowhunter for 25% off of that, and that's 25% for as long as you have it. So they do have a free day, 14-day trial, and you can check that out at spartanforge.ai. And I mentioned the Patreons. I got to give a shout out to our two new Patreons since last week, TJ Merritt of Harrison. So TJ, he hosted the Tethered Teach and Train last year at his house, or his dad's house. So I've met TJ, great guy. Thanks, TJ. And then James Allen out of Pennville, New York. So more of the East Coast guys jumping on, and we really do appreciate it. And what is Patreon? Patreon is a crowdfunding for creators, so that helps to for us to do all of our giveaways, which we'll get to in a minute. It helps to buy equipment for the show. It helps to buy gear for us to test, to try, for us to go on hunts, for us to go on location and meet these guys in person, to go to things like the Tethered Teach and Train and talk to the guys and report back to you. So it's 17 cents a day to support the show. And I sent out a swag pack to everybody. TJ and James, I'm going to get yours out here by the end of this week. Usually the first part of my week is putting out the podcast, and then the second is all of the housekeeping. So we'll get to that. You can check that out at patreon.com /Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, or you can go to bowhunterchroniclespodcast.com and click the Patreon link. You can go to the link in our Instagram, check out our YouTube, but there's a Patreon thing on there where it shows you how to sign up. On top of that, we're also giving away a bow. You don't have to be a Patreon to be entered. Literally, there's like 150 people that have signed up. So if you go to our website or go to our Instagram and just click on the link, we're giving away a Bowtech Carbon Zion. We're a bow hunting podcast. We want to give back. We want to get more people into it. We want to get people more excited about it. And so we thought, what better way than to give away a brand new bow? So we're giving away that Carbon Zion, same bow I'm going to be shooting. HHA Tetra Sight, HHA Rest. More things to come on that, but I mean, that's an incredible thing just that we're giving away outside of the Patreons. Patreons get extra entries, but whatever. But each quarter we do giveaways strictly for the Patreons, and this quarter, this quarter will be April 1st, probably by the 5th, April 10th, something like that, we'll announce these winners. But we are giving away Tacticam 5.0 package with the Turkey Reaper. And Tacticam's already said, when you kill something with this camera, get them the footage. They'll edit it up for you, and they will put it out on their social media. So your hunt will be out on everybody that follows Tacticam. We're also giving away, Latitudes gave us a classic saddle, but we thought, what good is a saddle? I mean, I love that saddle, but without everything else that goes along with it, you still got to buy ropes, sticks, all that stuff. So we're going to be giving away a set of XOP mini sticks, the Artisan Outdoor Fabrication mini platform, same platform I've used for the last 2 years. And then just to round it out, we're going to give away some of the new tethered ropes, which I have to remember to order. We're going to give you everything that you need to start saddle hunting. Spartan Forge, as we already mentioned, they're giving away a 1-year subscription to their software, and so you'll be able to check that out. And with all the new things that are coming, it's going to be a really exciting time to be involved with that. And then Basemap. So Basemap is what we've been using extensively. I'm actually beta testing their new update for their offline mapping, which was good to begin with. The detail wasn't as great maybe as we would have liked when we were out west, and I can tell you right now that with what we're doing, that is much improved. But Basemap, they've got all the layers, everything that any of the other mapping softwares have, as far as functionality, but they have a ton more layers, many more options. Online scouting is amazing. And they're giving away one of their pro packs for a year, as well as a swag pack. And for Basemap, I mean, it's $30 for the entire year. We have a code. You can use code Chronicles. You have to go online to do that. You can't do it through the App Store. So that ends up being $24 a month, $24 a year, $2 a month for the entire year. But they're giving away one of those. The guys from Zinger Fletchings, so those are 3D printed, helical, flat. They've got 1 degree, 3 degree, 6 degree offsets. They're giving away a set of their fletchings. They're actually going to be at the Total Archery Challenge. We've got everything all set up for us. We're all registered. We'll be at the Total Archery Challenge Boyne Mountain, so hoping to see you guys up there. But the Zinger Fletching guys are going to be up there, so we're hoping to hook up with them and record a podcast, hang out, and really, that's going to be a great opportunity for us to shoot a lot of arrows with the Zinger Fletches and see what we think of them. I've got some. They group right tight with my other arrows, but I haven't shot them, all day long at 100 yards. So going to be pretty cool. But those are all the things that we're giving away through Patreon. I also started a Marco Polo group, which has been really great for building this community. So if you're there's like 30 guys in there. So if you're one of the Patreons, you're not using that, you don't have the link or whatever, get a hold of me. But on to today's podcast. Today's podcast kind of stems from questions from that Marco Polo group. For guys that are just starting out or switching over to mobile hunting, coming off from private land, going on to public, making some changes, this stuff can be overwhelming. So what we wanted to do was take it from like a budget perspective. So if you had a set budget, how would you spend that money? What would you do? What should you do? Where should the money be spent? Because it can be, if you had $1,000 budget for the entire year, if you needed a bow, that'd be gone. If you wanted to buy all high end, a set of high end sticks and a high end stand, that's gone. So there's no gas money, no tag money, no anything. So Byron's on here. Byron's an accountant. Byron is what I would consider like a higher level deer hunter. He's targeting specific class of deer, Pope and Young and bigger, and he's doing it on public land. And he puts out videos on budget, on great options for guys outside of just all the high end stuff. And so I really wanted to have Byron on here to have this conversation, and I'm really glad that we did. It's a little bit long, but super fun. You can tell as soon as I give him a number, he gets super excited, and we just run with it. So fun conversation, great podcast. I really think it's going to be helpful for a lot of guys, but let us know what you think. Leave us a review on iTunes or whatever you're listening to. Hit that 5-star review, and just tell somebody else about the podcast. Somebody that's maybe starting out, maybe that needs this information. Say, hey, you got to hear what these guys have to say. Listen. But I know you guys are going to like this. Thanks for listening. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Just Adam today, not a solo podcast, but we're going to talk with a guy who it's an interesting topic. He produces amazing content with high end, cinematic, quality, everything that you look for, and you say, man, I really want to do that as a self filmer, as starting out. And then you go and you use your just one Tacticam, or you use your $150 Sony Handycam, and you're like, why doesn't mine look like his? And we're going to get into a little bit of that, but we're talking with Byron Horton, the Whitetail Experience, about kind of coming from a budget standpoint. So we're going to talk budget gear, multi-purpose gear, kind of the evolution of kind of where to start, what you need, what you don't need. How does that sound to you, Byron?
I'm fired up, man. Anytime to talk deer hunting, maybe a little self-filming, and just getting into that the whitetail world.
So I just want to touch on that, like how is a guy that produces amazing content on the budget side of it? Because it seems like everyone that we've talked to, the evolution is to this high end gear. And it's not, I feel like if you end up with high end equipment or equipment that's able to produce that sort of quality, it kind of translates all the way across. And so you have that, must be better, must be ideal, must be, purpose built type mentality. So how are we talking to you today on the budget side of things?
Yeah, I think that question's really just framed at solo filming and production. But I remember a conversation with a guy named Jordan Johnson out of Illinois, and we were sitting there, and I had my very first DSLR with a kit lens, and I was a little bit intimidated because here he's unboxing not a Red, but it was some camera that was. It was pretty ridiculous as far as what he was putting together. It was probably a significantly multiple grand camera. And I was kind of talking to him and saying, oh, I want this lens, and oh, I need this drone. And he kind of looked at me and kind of pulled me aside and really gave me some great coaching advice that, dude, it is not the camera. It is not necessarily the lens or the equipment, but it's you. That is the most important thing in this industry. And he said you can learn how to run a very basic camera with a kit lens or even your cell phone. He talked to one of his first productions. His main camera took a dump on him, and he pulled out his cell phone, and the client was very kind of had a weird look on his face. But then Jordan edited it up, and the client was thrilled to death with what they were able to accomplish. That's something that stuck with me. And I think I'm also very realistic when it comes to the approach of, let's call it media in the outdoor space, because one, there's not a lot of money in the outdoor space when you look at total dollars spent compared to something like the wedding space or something like that. And so like not a lot of people make it. Not a lot of people, break even. So I have an accounting background, so I'm always kind of conscious of cost, and that's kind of how I have chose to make my gear decisions and both in hunting and from the filming side of things, because I didn't always have the custom gear setup. I have come from $100 climber, Field and Stream 30-pounder.
Yeah. So in saying that, and I've always said that, so you could give me a red, and I probably wouldn't even know how to turn the thing on. But if you turned it on for me and said, "Go ahead and video whatever you want to," and then I gave you or someone like the guy that was giving you the advice, his cell phone, he could produce a better video than I could, because it's kind of the guy that's using it. But that, when you were talking about that, it just made me think about like that probably translates a lot to the deer woods. And you could say that if you gave me all the Sitka Fanatic and Lone Wolf custom gear, or name your high-end saddle and the best
Sure.
stick on the planet, and then you put me up against somebody, like a Dan Infault or, Zach from the Hunting Public or John Eberhard or something like that, my money would be on them in flannel or ripped up BDUs or, or whatever. And I think that that's one thing in today's day and age gets lost. And when you talk about the dollars not being in there in the hunting space, I would almost say that there's probably more dollars spent on like trying to sell you gear than there is, trying to teach you how to hunt, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that is very much a trend, especially I feel like the industry in the early mid 2000s, I think the industry is getting way better at teaching you how or showing real world examples. But yeah, the commercials of 10 years ago were ridiculous as far as just trying to sell you stuff.
So I guess from that perspective, let's get a little bit of background. I know that we've had you on here before and we've kind of gone through this, but we got a lot of new listeners and we haven't really approached it from this side. So what's your background in hunting, and like who taught you how to hunt, or where did you get your information about where to use gear or what you needed?
Yeah. So I got introduced actually kind of late. I was 17, 18 years old. Got invited to hunt my best friend in high school. His dad owned 120 acres in Coshocton County, phenomenal deer county. And I got to tag along with a big onesie that was faded real tree. And, kind of that's how I started. Next year was Horton crossbow on the ground, and bobbed around a few wooden platform stands on that piece and got bit by the bug. And fast forward, college comes around, I start hunting some public ground, grab a climber, and started to be able to find deer there, and was shocked because anything I'd ever read on forums, and this is pre-Facebook days, reading forums and talking with hunters at shows and stuff like that, public land was so frowned upon. And started to find some deer there and passed up a couple bucks that I shouldn't have, and just was so engulfed with it. Finally got a little more time after college to really essentially take the full year approach as far as scouting and really just take my deer hunting to the next level. And started hanging out with my good buddy David Ebright, who's a member of the Whitetail Experience. He's funny guy on there, but he had some better success early on, right after college, just really hunting hard and killing some good bucks. And he kind of took me under his wing, and we'd have nights called Deer and Beer Night where we'd fall asleep, drinking beer on a Tuesday, watching the old Hill Country Bucks DVD, or looking up crazy stuff on the Ohio Sportsman Forum and maps. And fast forward now, I'm still hunting public land and doing some out of state trips, and helping edit Whitetail Addictions, and doing some media stuff with Lone Wolf Custom Gear and XOP.
Okay. So in that evolution and
I'm still in that evolution. That's a key word there.
Well, but I think that the thing is that I feel like sometimes we end up like you and I and a lot of people, and I say that all the stuff that we look at is an echo chamber, but I think we can end up so close to it, right? That maybe you begin to believe the hype, or you get sucked in. I mean, like we were talking about a little bit before, like I am like a gear junkie. So I've talked to a few guys that are like, they're so analytical, and they have, this is my budget for the year for hunting. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I spend my lunch money. I mean, like, I'm almost 40 years old. Like, I still have like a budget for lunch, and I'll just pack a lunch, and I'll buy that, climbing stick, or this other saddle, or this other platform, or, this, because, granted it's the podcast and I want to be able to speak intelligently on it. But at the same time, like, I like seeing the stuff. Like, I don't take anybody's word for it, like online. I think that there's so many people like trying to sell you things, and there's not enough people out there like being objective. So I don't have that like analytical, like, this is my hunting budget. So how do you, like I said, as we get like too close and on that evolution, how have you like staved that off? Or, I mean, do you create a cost analysis, like you did a video, with the cost of running trail cams, right? So do you do that on every single piece of your hunting gear, or what is your approach to hunting gear and like necessity, cost? Is there multiple uses? How do you view that?
Yeah. I mean, so I do take my hunting like costs very serious. I can't big purchases in general. Hell, I drove my mom's Honda like CRV for 3 months while I looked for the best truck deal, and bought a used truck out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, and made my girlfriend drive me 3 hours to pick up a truck because it was $800 cheaper than anything close. And put the so I am very conscious of spending money, especially substantial purchases, which hunting gear can get very substantial as far as investing and buying something maybe that could last you 10 years, even though it's very expensive. But I've always been that way. I really put some time in as far as searching like better deals, secondary sources. I'm very big on buying used gear. I always have been, and you can find stuff at cost, or capitalizing on Black Friday deals. If you kind of remember, oh yeah, last year they ran a Black Friday deal, I'm gonna wait and see what posts in 4 months versus buying something today. So yeah, and I didn't make the best money right out of college, and so I remember I saved up and researched the best budget entry bow or whatever, and that was my first real big purchase, and then had to wait a whole year after that to buy a better climber that I had seen at the Deer and Turkey show, and literally said, I'm going to buy that stand at the show price, but I got to wait a whole year. And did that. And so, yeah, I've kind of always been that way, to be honest.
So I guess from that perspective, like for guys that are just starting out, and that are getting caught up in the hype. And like I told you, for our Patreons, like we started this Marco Polo group, and we're in there, we're talking about, everybody's got all these high end climbing sticks. And one of the guys, Matt, I know he's going to listen to this, and we had kind of a chuckle about this, but the consensus at the moment is that the Tethered One sticks are the worst sticks ever, and the Eastern Woods Outdoors sticks are terrible. Or they're the only ones to buy, right? Well, I've looked at those previously, and like to build the stick that I would want is like $140 a stick. And he's like, well, if you don't get them anodized and you don't get like this, he's like $70 a piece. That seems like a deal. And I'm like, hold on, dude. Think about what you just said. You said one stick is a good deal at $70 a piece. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, how far have we come? Like, so I mean, like, where is, like, knowing that guys can get caught up in all of that, like, where do you think people should apply their money, like starting out, like, and what's a realistic budget to start out bow hunting?
Sure. Like, and let me ask this, because there's a little bit of what I would tell a guy who's maybe 26 and has maybe got has found a better job and has a little more disposable income is definitely different than the dude who's 21, right? Just graduated college and maybe doesn't have the most disposable income, because and I would maybe, look at a slightly different, that's two different, little bit different categories there.
Well, I think what I mean, here's what I'm seeing is I'm seeing from the guys that I deal with, like from our Patreon, and the guys that I'm talking to like daily online, is they seem to be like mid 30s or even late 30s or older, either deciding to go from private to public, or they're married and got a couple kids and they're trying to balance this budget, and they're trying to figure out, like, where should I spend my money, like, appropriately, And
Okay.
so some of the first questions that I always ask them is like, what experience do you have and what do you already own? But
yeah, that's super valid, experience. And yeah, like the scenario is key here too, before we dive into what gear, how I would recommend them spending money. Can we assume that let's throw in some public land? I assume that's where you want to go with this. And let's just assume mobile hunting is kind of a key factor in all this, and can we assume those two things and steer this where we go now?
Yep. And it's going to be like archery. I mean, this is the Bow Hunter Chronicles podcast, so those are we'll say those three things. Yep.
Yeah. So, like, I would say if I look at my purchases in the past, I have blown, I feel like, money on new bows, and I think that was very stupid early on. I can remember I bought one new bow, and what you pay for that new bow compared to what if you waited a year or bought last year's model is pretty substantial. And obviously with the boom of archery talk and all the Facebook forum groups and stuff, buying a used bow is actually pretty easy these days. So that is a route I would go, and just look for those tried and true kind of bows, like the Matthews Z7 kind of comes to mind as a classic. Yes, it's a solo cam, but dude, that bow's killed probably more whitetails, in the U.S. than maybe any other model. Or, you can look at some of the old elites or the Bowtechs. Like, most of the manufacturers make good bows, but a 2-year-old model tends to do really well as far as a price and performance level. I'm shooting a 5-year-old bow right now from a manufacturer that's not even around anymore. I think I've killed 4 out of my last 5 deer with it. New breed archery is not even around anymore. But the Matthews, I will say this, their resale value seems to be significantly better than any other manufacturer. As far as you buy a 2-year-old Matthews and want to flip it a year later, it seems to not drop as fast as the others. So you may pay more, but you can also sell it. But that's up to the individual guy, probably what feels a little better. But there's plenty of ways to get a used bow. I would definitely steer that route. But, like, if a guy's dipping his toe in and maybe he's killed some deer and he's going to try and tackle some mobile hunting, public land, like, I find it very hard to go tree stand wise. Definitely the XOP Vanish, and when they redid it, oh, what was that, 2 years ago, and knocked 2 pounds off to make it more around that 10 pound mark with a couple of the better features, like that's a no brainer. And I know some guys like that M7, and I'm sorry, it's unless you're ultra light, like I just don't see an argument there. And but there's a plenty of good now sticks, that you can scoop off. The Hawk sticks on Camo Fire show up every now and then, for $100 for a 3 or 4 pack. That's tough to go wrong there. I've ran the Hawk sticks before. The XOP sticks, another budget friendly option. And now there's even more companies kind of putting stuff out, targeting a little bit. The mobile hunting boom is here. I don't know how long this wave's going to last, but it's here. So those are like the 2 to 3 gear items. As far as if you want to talk clothing, if you want to talk boots.
Well, let's just stop right here, like,
Yeah,
because I want to. I'm looking at your notes, and I'm thinking about like the things that I was going to interject and those things. So like for me, when you talk about like the bow, so I think it all depends on like where you're starting out. So, I've bought 2 brand new bows in my lifetime, and the first one I bought, I didn't take care of. The string broke, one of the cables snapped and exploded on me, and that was right before my first trip to Ohio, or my second trip to Ohio, and I ended up killing the largest deer of my life with a $279 bear ready to hunt special right out of Cabela's showroom.
nice.
And the reason was because despite the fact that I like to try out gear, I'm cheap. So I'm always looking for a deal. I'm looking for a bargain. I'm looking for all of that. Well, that same year, my father-in-law got the Matthews Healy M. And so I compared the specs with speed, brace height, axle to axle, all the things that I think matter from a bow. And those 2 things lined up almost identically. His bow was $1,200. That was the first year that it came out. And this bow with a quiver, with a sight, with a whisker biscuit was $275. And I think I actually got my buddy to buy it with his Cabela's card, so he got the points. And I think I got it for 200.
But it knocked $50 off that day or whatever.
So I think I got it for $250. So, and I killed, still probably the biggest deer I'll ever kill in my whole life with that bow. And, coming from what I was shooting and, these newer bows, there's nothing wrong with them. If you look at the hunting public, they're using those same off-the-shelf, ready-to-hunt bear packages for the most part. And they're beating the crap out of them, and they're killing whatever they want to. Now, if you're going to be, doing the stuff that John does and building your own strings and tuning them to the millimeter, then, you're maybe putting a higher priority on some of the things where a guy that's coming straight out isn't. But one of the things on your list that says, and I guess on that tried and true thing, I'm a big fan of the Bowtech Carbon Icon, their carbon platform. I'm shooting the Carbon Deploy. I'll be shooting the new Carbon Zion. We're giving one of those away. Incredible budget bow at $650. So
doesn't Bow Hunting Fiend shoot that bow? Or
yeah, he bought one and rattle canned the shit out of it, and it's his favorite bow right now. So
yeah, that dude's a savage. If he says this works, I'm definitely gonna take a second look.
Right. And so, but in your notes, when you were talking about tree stands and climbers and stuff, you said you wish you never bought a $100 climber. Now I'm gonna do a podcast. I got one coming up here pretty soon. I've talked with him a little bit. We're gonna figure it out. But I want to know, that not buying a $100 climber. Do you think? I want to hear that story, but I want to know: is the climber dead?
Oh, dude, I don't know where it is. I don't think I sold it. But I've left her. I actually left her in a piece of public one time for 2 weeks because I didn't want to. I hunted a tree and hated the setup, and it was loud, and I left it for 2 weeks and came back and grabbed it. But yes, I'm not. It might be on my buddy's piece of ground in southern Ohio that I used to hunt. It might be wrapped around a tree. I'm not 100% sure.
But so for you, the climber um, was not the way to go.
So the $100 climber, like back then, right? I was in college and I had killed like one or two deer. I think one. Let's call it two deer. I think I killed one with a gun and one with a crossbow. And I was starting to hunt public land, and I had a compound that my mom bought me for my birthday. It was, ready to hunt package, $300. And I'd saved up some money, and I used to cut grass, shovel snow, you name it. I did it for beer and gas money back in the day. And so I walked into Field and Stream, bought a 32-pound climber, and I would have been far better off to take that $100 and scout 4 times that winter, roughly $20 a mission in gas that day or whatever, and just hunt on the ground for a season. And at that point in my life, now when I did buy rewind first year out of college, I bought it was a Tree Walker, which is a Wisconsin company. I'm not even sure if they're still in business. They made it was sub 20. I think it was 18 pounds. They also had a 16-pound model, but I bought the 18-pound model. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong, the weight savings was awesome, but that climber set up on the tree way better. It had like yellow tips on the cables, and then he squared the cables so they couldn't get turned when you were trying to find your pin system. There was a dot on the cable, so like when you saw the yellow dot, you knew your pin would slide right through the hole right below it. It stacked, actually. It stacked almost like solo cups, and there was no straps needed to transport. So like some of these better features made hunting with that stand significantly better. And dude, it was awesome. It was way better than that $100 climber. And so, that's why that bullet point is in my notes. Is I should have either went scouting with that money or just saved it in general and bought the kind of better climber at the time.
Well, so one of the things, and I'm glad that you said that because it just reminded me. So one of the things I've often said, and I don't know that I've said it on the podcast, but I know that I talk to guys about it, is because everybody wants to shave weight. And you're a big proponent, and it changed my mind a little bit. And I think you were talking maybe about the Lone Wolf Custom Gear doubles at the time when you were mentioning it on a post or something like that. But you said that you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of weight for convenience. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that can be like understated, because there's so many things that, might weigh less. I mean, like the use of I guess in the best sense of the word is I get a lot of questions about aiders. And so like, if you want to talk about just sheer weight, maybe if you're a tall guy, I know you're a tall guy, you could probably use a 7-step aider or something like that, because you can reach higher than the average guy. But sure, the convenience of that just doesn't jive for me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so let's talk about like that a little bit. When people are like a new guy, so for a new guy, that's we're on the same thing. Public land. We're trying to fit into a budget. We're bow hunting and we're going mobile, and everybody wants to talk about weight. Let's talk a little bit about that side of it, the convenience side of it.
Yeah, the hunting function, if you will, because until I think this guy who's getting into to hunting, and what he might be looking through all these Facebook groups, and a lot of these guys are simply weekend warriors that maybe hang 2 stands every Saturday and Sunday, and they may go on a small rut trip, but like I really put value in guys that honestly hunt a lot or have a lot of hunting experience. Have maybe been doing it for a season or two at a higher level, because those are the guys that Dave had some muddy sticks that kind of popped a time or two, and we went to do a hunt. This is 5-6 years ago. And I said, we're not taking those sticks. They pop, not every hunt, but they make a pop noise every now and then. And, that could cost us. It's a morning hunt. We're going into a bedding area, so we took the XOPs, which, we ended up, they were longer and they were, they weren't the lightest things in the world. And I really think hunting, the ability to mobile hunt and is like hunting function is a key factor that should be, if you have a score sheet, it should be up there as far as a priority, because you got to do it and you got to repeatedly do it. You got to do it under stress. You got to do it in the dark. You got to do it with an elevated heart rate. Like, what happens if you're going in on a hunt and see a good one? Dude, I've had to set. I've been setting tree stands and I've seen a buck in it with a headlamp before. Like, tell me that's not the most nerve-wracking thing. So having something I can do blindfolded is essentially key. I joke, I still need to be able to see what I'm doing, but I can do that. I'm still a stand guy. I'm not a saddle guy currently. And I put on some miles and I go for some deep hunts, but I was still even taking the 1.0 over the DS5 because I kind of like that bigger platform, being a guy who's 6'1", and some of that.
So one of the things I wrote down here just as we were talking, so that 32-pound climber, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a guy that's just starting out, and I think that, where, we've kind of said that, we can sacrifice a little bit of weight for a little bit of function, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Would you take a 32-pound hang and hunt setup or a 32-pound saddle setup? Or would you say, I would just not buy that and I'll hunt off the ground or something like that? I mean, how do you feel from that perspective?
That's my only options as far as
that's what your budget is, right?
Well, I mean, this is 10 years ago. The only lightweight climbing sticks were Lone Wolf at the time and an Alpha One, and I just didn't have that kind of cash, and it wasn't popular either. It wasn't talked about as such a significant advantage, like it is today. But yeah, if you told me I had to have a 32-pound setup,
just for the stand and sticks, or just for your saddle platform and your sticks,
yeah,
heavy sticks.
Yeah, and I still think I do it. Whatever tickles my fancy between the saddle or the stand sticks, and I would consider it. Maybe if I'm on a tired evening, do I still hunt that evening? But let's say I'm scouting and I find something that an elevated position is the key. Well, better suck that shit up and pack in, because it's about killing deer, So yeah, like I mean, I would still tell the guy to buy it if he could only afford it. The great thing is today, I mean, for $250, you can be in this game for pretty much 20-ish pounds. But yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents. Is I would do it. I think an elevated position is needed sometimes, but if he hunted Saturday and he was just gassed from lugging that 32 pounds up a mountain and he wanted to hunt Sunday, well, hunt on the ground. Go for a still hunt day. Maybe he finds something that's still hunting day that says, oh, I'm going to come back here Wednesday after that rainstorm and set up, here it looks like there's a lot of activity going on. And then that day he chooses to bring in 32-pound setup again.
So another thing, just from that standpoint, is I wanted to ask you, because it's a question that I ask guys, but I get asked a lot, because when people are saying, it always goes back to like the aider question, right? So like, what kind of aider can you run with these, or what kind of aider do you use, or what kind of, I want to buy this and I want to buy these aiders, I want to talk to you specifically about hunting height, just simply because of, the buck that you killed this year, the company you keep, where Cody DeQuisto's a 2-stick guy, or,
Yeah.
And I want to like kind of reiterate to guys that are trying to figure out, in this, $100 plus stick game, right? They're like, well, I
Hmm.
need 4, and then I need 8ers, and then I need this, and I'm like, you got to understand, there's guys out there that are killing, you know, deer that you would shoot. They're passing deer that you would shoot every day, you know, 8 feet off the ground, whatever. So I want to talk a little bit about hunting height, just because, you know, you're a great candidate to have that discussion.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, generally I walk around the timber and farm country with either two long sticks or three doubles. Um, and then if I go to the big woods, that's a little bit more of like, bigger hills, and like if a deer takes a trail like literally 10 yards above you, he could be eye level at 20 some feet. Um, so I tend to take more sticks there just because that needs to happen. But yeah, over the past couple of years, obviously spending time with Cody, I now have the confidence and have killed. Oh, let's see here. What is it? 2020. 2018, I killed a buck, two sticks and two steps high. So right around the 10, 12 foot mark. And then last year, though, I was hunting big woods, and I was 4 full long sticks with like two eighters. I was probably 20 plus foot, somewhere 20, 25 foot, because that's what the set called for. And then this year, I literally don't even know if I needed a stick. I actually jumped off the stand after I shot a buck, but I was like 3 foot off the ground.
And so, how do you do that? I mean, like, so these guys that are so hung up on, like, I mean, like we said, prior to talking, like, I have the benefit, I guess, of talking to John Eberhart all the time. And so he wants to be 25 to 30 feet up all the time. So,
Hmm.
and guys that subscribe to that, or the guys that have um, made that part of their hunting community, or that's what they've based themselves on, that's what they hear, that's what they need to be, is super high. So how are you killing bucks at 3 feet? Or how's Zach killing bucks
Yeah,
off the
like
ground, or whatever?
yeah, I've come close off the ground. But I've not pulled it fully off. I hit one in Indiana 2 years ago. I never found, or maybe 3 years ago, never found. But the hunting low, I think it plays into a few things. One, setup's got to be there, as far as you got to have either back cover, a lot of front around you type cover. Yeah, maybe the habitat works for your advantage, as far as I've hunted in a thicket, and so these deer are coming through honeysuckle or autumn olive type bushes, and so their head is always kind of low, and it's almost like when they're out there at 15, 20 yards, they can hardly see me, but once they get to about 5, they're going to stare at me, scarecrowed in this setup. But I don't move a lot. I'm very good at spotting deer. Oh, at a little bit of a distance before they close to that final killable opportunity. I uh, I now have the confidence, now that I've killed a few too, to set that stand low and kind of play the game. I tend to, when I hunt low, I don't try and cover everything. I try to cover maybe two, let's call it two trails, or two kill scenarios. Um, this year in particular, I had was I in a beech tree? No, the tree I was in was, I think, some sort of oak or maple, blah blah blah. But like within 2 feet of that tree, there was three beech trees, or yeah, three beech trees. And beech trees hold their leaves late. They got a lot of leaves in general. And so like I had like a mini tree fort situation. So that called for it. I think hunting low. Obviously, I'm here in the Midwest. I do think, maybe in Michigan, or down in the South, where these deer maybe get hunted more. You guys have more hunter density, especially the southern end. They might be looking in trees a lot more. And so if you were hunting low, you better have the best cover on the block. But um, those deer might tend to look up a touch more. And so I could see where it may not be as an effective method. Or if you're hunting a lot of elevation change, like I said, I hunt the big woods, and I would say most of those setups don't call for it. This year it did, but let's talk in general terms. It doesn't work as well. Those woods tend to be a little more open.
Yeah, I mean, it's hit or miss. I mean, like, so our property in the UP, I hunted one year out of a climber, and I was, if you were to look to my immediate left, uh, my shot was uh, maybe like a 70-foot shot.
Yeah.
And if you were to look to my immediate right, it was about a 7-foot shot. And
Yeah.
so that's where I learned that when you're hunting in that those ridges or like that, it wasn't hill country. It was just a piece of our property that I'd never been on, and I was like, "Oh, this is the tree I need to be in." I climbed up, and the deer and I were literally eye to eye, and I felt like the bucks that were running by, I could have grabbed their antlers. Um, but then, uh, fast forward a few years, I was in 3 full length XOP sticks, and I killed a buck that is still one of my favorite stories ever. At 14 yards, and I was at the top of that second stick, so I wasn't 10 feet off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But it was because I was in a cedar tree, and it was just the tree that I needed to be in. And I couldn't. I put the third stick up there, and I couldn't get any higher. But I think, like, again, like as we talk about social media and like we talk about like these sticks come in 3 packs or 4 packs, and should I buy 4 and should I buy 3, and all of these things. It's like you need to be where you need to be, and it doesn't matter if you need to be on the ground. I mean, that may be where you need to be. You may bring all your stuff in and you need to be sitting there on the ground. Or, when I was in Missouri, same thing. I was 30 plus feet up in the tree for that same reason. Is I was like 80 feet to my left, but I was 8 feet to my right. And so I was trying to, split the difference as far as like where I needed to be.
Yeah.
And so from that budget minded setup, we've kind of talked about like bows, we've talked about like standing sticks or platform saddle, however you want to do it. What about like, I mean, obviously you have to see the value in that, $500 or $600 Sitka Fanatic jacket and, all of the research that went into it and their pants, right? So you've got that $1,200 suit, correct?
So, look, I will say this: I don't own any Sitka, but I think what Sitka is doing is awesome in the sense that if they put in a lot of like needs for a whitetail hunter into their gear, I appreciate the shit out of it. I think maybe if the pattern was a little, I don't know, different, I would maybe even own some. Um, you know, I own a Kuiu backpack. That's kind of my high end. I've owned some Kuiu. Do I own any Kuiu?
That sounds so. Looking at your notes that you sent me, that seems like a sticking point. That seems like a thorn in your side.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and I am a real big ASAT Predator type camo guy, or like some of the open pattern stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I like that kind of style slash science of what a predator, a prey species sees, and trying to just break up the human outline over look like a fake stick, like the real trees and mossy oaks. I'm not a huge fan of those patterns for whatever reason. I kind of gravitate to more of, I'll call it the predator style, the open pattern design. But yeah, I don't own any Sitka, but I think it's super cool. But for a guy just getting into it, I mean, he might just do fine with a earth tone like Carhartt insulated hoodie, because it's quiet. Um, he might already own that. And then I'm a real big. I don't spend a lot of money on base layers, which everyone claims is like the be all end all, because yeah, and part of my gear kick, if you will, is, dude, most whitetail hunts, I'm 45 minutes from my vehicle at max. Um, maybe an hour ish. I don't hunt like Appalachia, Virginia mountains like Nathan Killen. Like I could see if you were doing some backcountry style hunts where base layers and clothing gear is definitely a lot more important, because if you get wet and can't get dry, it's a potentially life or death situation. I'm not foolish enough to think that. Um, but for a whitetail guy, I'm most times 45 minutes from the truck. And so, so yeah, like I'm okay with guys going to the GI surplus place, buying, a pair of BDU pants, and that's his light whitetail pant. And even if he's already got like, some Carhartt like or Earth Tony type vests or whatever, use those to kind of go bow hunting, if you will. I don't think camo is make or break, from a standpoint of that. I like fleeces too because I like a quiet impact. I don't sit in the rain all that much. I'll wear a poncho in if it's raining and then gonna stop. I'll wear a disposable military, buy them at Walmart, $2.99 poncho. Get to the base of my tree or be sitting there in the woods, kind of in tent mode, and then the rain stops, and I know I got to get in the tree because they're about to move. But I'll dispose of that poncho at that point.
Man, I wish I thought about that. Like, and you know, granted, like we do a podcast, but I wish like I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I'm always trying to improve, and I listen to guys, and I wish I would have known more about that movement, because I can think of one hunt where I was set up on this like community scrape, like right outside of this bedding area. Like I knew where bucks were bedded, and I was in the tree, and then it started raining, and it rained like for like 3 hours, and I sat there just getting a rain down. And then finally, as my boots started to fill up from the rain running down me and into my boots, and when my boots like reached like the tipping point, like where they were about to overflow, I was like, I'm getting down. It's done. And it was that exact 30-45 minute walk out. And as soon as I got out, it stopped raining. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to be in there. Like I should have just stuck it out. And like, that's a whole nother podcast, but like the
Oh,
movement right
because
after the rain, like
yeah, there's nothing colder than my opinion, than like 35 to 50 and rainy. Like, generally in the fall you have cooler temps but if it's not, if it's above freezing, that whole 40 degrees and raining is the most miserable of all time. Like I would take 20 degrees and dry or 10 degrees in snow over 40 and rain.
but it was like one of those days where it was supposed to rain for 30 minutes. And I was like, I can stick it out for 30 minutes, and it just kept raining and kept raining. And finally, when I just threw my hands up, like as soon as I got to the truck, and of course, everywhere that I hunt has no service for anything at all.
Sure.
That's what the story was. And it was like, that's one of those days where I'm like, man, these guys that are like legit hardcore, I'm sticking it out. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. And it was like 3 hours was too much. And it was, it was like, as soon as I got back, like the Whitetail God said, you don't have enough. Like, this isn't your game, you know? So it's just one of those things. Now, I'll say, I'm looking on your thing, and the notes here, and you're talking about like, base layers and stuff like that. Like one of the things that I do, not that necessarily that I do, but my mother-in-law is like a big um, secondhand store person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I told her, I said, you go look, and I've killed my two biggest bucks in Michigan wearing a $3, like legit, like um, mock turtleneck sweater, but it's merino wool, and it costs like $1.99. And it's like one of it was my wife shrunk it in the washing machine, and so it's my daughter's favorite hunting sweater. But it was my favorite hunting sweater by far, and it cost like $1. It was merino wool. I mean, it says like made in Italy, like merino wool, the whole thing. And I killed my two biggest bucks in Michigan, like all sweated up, like gross, like playing in the wind, in a $1 Goodwill sweater. So I know on here it says that you're not a big like base layer guy. You'd rather have like higher end like outerwear.
Yeah, yeah. Like if you said, "Hey, you got $150 to devote to some," if our guy here, our dude who's getting into bow hunting, maybe he has like some darker hoodies that he could rock for like more of a early October type of jacket system. If he said, "Oh, I've only got $150," I'd probably steer him towards, okay, maybe dude, I've shot bucks in Costco synthetic base layers that, like you said, they're $4, $6. Um, and then there's a Predator micro fleece style jacket with wind blocker for like 120, I think, on their website right now. Like that's 100% where I'd send him. Or, you know, um, I'm sure there's a couple other companies with similar type garments.
Well, I'll tell you, like, so I mean, honestly, like right now, I'm wearing like it's like 100% polyester, Sitka Strata or not Sitka, I'm sorry, Cabela's Strata pattern um, hoodie. It zips up. It's like it it's it was 19.99. I've killed the last two bucks that I've killed this year and last year. I was wearing this as my outer layer. Um,
Hmm.
and I tend to I really like Badland stuff. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
and they're attacking the whitetail community, so that's kind of cool to see.
but I love their stuff because until John was videoing me when we were in Idaho, like stalking in on this whitetail, um, the pattern looks ridiculous. Like I'm not gonna lie, it looks silly.
See,
Um,
I think, dude, you put somebody out there kind of skyline, especially with that browner white kind
hmm
of look that they have. I'm not 100% FX.
Yeah, they have both. They have the green one and the brown one. But
Yeah, like I could see where that could really break up, especially once you get a little skylined a little bit.
they have the warranty is like what I
Dude.
think. Like that to me, like I think the value there and like
Hmm.
I'd love to work with Badlands. I don't work with them, but I own all their stuff because
Yeah, so somebody out there, put us a call in. We're free agents.
but but I love their stuff because of the warranty and like
Hmm.
I own so much stuff and I've not had any issues with any of it. Like I I bought their pursuit pack. It was small. I didn't like it because it didn't have a waist belt and I got rid of it, but it didn't have anything to do with the quality or whatever. And I'm telling you what, they updated their ion pants. I need to get the new ones, but I beat the shit out of their regular ion pants. I've done 2 trips out west. I've done like turkey hunting, frickin' whitetail hunting, everything that I could frickin' throw at them. And I have one loose thread. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I think that the value there, and they do, I mean, like what, to your point, like what you were saying, like on Black Friday. And so if I remember correctly, you're an accountant. I think it goes
Hmm.
like quarterly. So I don't know if it's like third quarter or fourth quarter, but they do this big 50% off sale. Like they throw a code out there that's 50% off. So I mean, you can
Yeah.
buy their stuff for nothing,
Yeah. And
comparatively.
then the lifetime warranty. I will say this. I think we should back up. We just mentioned cheaper options and kind of what I'll call non-hunting
Hmm
garments to wear. The one thing that kind of scares me that I think is worth mentioning is UV treatment of what I'll call like uh, these solid colors, because it's kind of been proven that animals to whatever spectrum from fish to deer see in that UV spectrum a little better, especially than humans. And a lot of these companies put UV dyes in their clothes, and so there's some, I would think after several washes that starts to break down, but I know there is also oh there's some sort of sport type washes that also kill that stuff. And that's definitely like, you see guys that trick their bows out from like Joann Fabric craft stores with all these fake leaves and stuff. I don't think that's the best idea because a lot of those have UV paints all over them. But I will mention that as something that if I wear a pair of like Carhartt pants, I tend to treat them with that UV killer stuff just in case there is any sort of dyes in them that maybe I don't see, but even squirrels maybe would pick up on and be chirping a little more because they see it, in that UV spectrum better than we
So I got a question for you. I mean,
do.
I've
Yeah,
got more stuff here on the gear side of it and look whatever, but just because you brought that up, I got 2 questions for you. Or
sure.
so on my left here, if anybody's seen like the Vitals live or anything like my setup in the basement, like I've got my 150-inch Ohio buck over here. I killed out of a climber, and I was, sprayed down with everything under the sun. You know,
We all been there.
it was, but both these deer that I'm referencing, like I use scents. Like if I'm in the rut, like, and I'm in a spot where I know that deer are going to be wind checking, like I'm generally using scents because I've I've had success, and that's just, I mean, I've killed them outside of that, but I know that it's worked for me, so it's just something that I'm gonna do. So this monster over here that I basically thought I shot in the face, um, he came into scent, but I was sprayed down and I was like in scent lock, like head to toe, and then this 105-inch Michigan whitetail, the biggest whitetail I've killed in Michigan, on my right, I was like literally sweating, like pouring sweat out, like wearing, whatever. I had a grease stained hat on, like it's like the most disgusting hat that I own, but now it's like my lucky hat because I've killed multiple deer in it. Had some scent out. I was playing the wind on both of them, but like when you talk about that UV thing, are you a proponent of like the sprays, the UV killers, or the scent killers of that side of the whitetail hunting marketing game, or is it like,
No, I mean I wash my clothes like maybe 3 times a season in Sport Wash, which says it like has UV killer, but like, dude, I've done the baking soda thing. My big thing is I'm not gonna I'm not gonna make a mobile turkey blind or put Joanne fabric and fake leaves on my bow or something like that. I don't, I just, if a guy's gonna buy something that's aftermarket, I don't think that's a terrible idea. But nobody fully knows, what the whitetail truly sees. But I think there's enough semi-science out there to consider maybe washing. If you buy something that's non-hunting, wash it or treat it with some sort of UV killer, because I think those companies do, tend to use threads and stuff with UV brighteners in them to kind of make them appear brighter, more appealing, and last longer.
okay? Like I said, I wasn't like saying like you're wrong. Look at my wall
No,
type
I got
shit.
no
Like,
idea. That's my 2 cents on it. But dude, yeah, like I don't, dude, I wash my clothes like 3 times a season, and that's that's minimal.
but I think like that like stands to the point is like I don't know exactly where you're hunting or any of that type of thing, but I know the terrain that you're hunting and I know how far you're going because, I mean, even the layman could watch your videos and know that like that's not a pleasant pack out, right?
No,
So
no, yeah.
so um
I think my
ye-
stuff's enough transparent that people see the it sucks factor, because I'm big on that, because I watched a lot of hunting TV in the 2000s that doesn't show the it sucks. And, my hunt is very different from Lee Lakowski's, that's for sure.
right, but if you're going in that far, you're not going in there without sweating or
Yeah,
without, with without some sort of obstacles or whatever.
exactly.
I mean, you might go the last, and for all the listeners and for everybody that's followed along and seen like what I have done and how I've progressed as a hunter, like I know I posted this and Byron was like, oh, that's appreciate that or like whatever, but I just want to say it like on here, like the I killed my deer this year because of our guest right here. Um, Byron, I don't know if it was a podcast or one of his videos or one of the deer that he's killed in the breakdown, but he talked about like following the sign back far enough until it got thick enough that he didn't think that he could set up in or whatever. I don't remember the exact scenario, but he just kept going further and further and further until he knew that this is where he needed to be. And the deer that I killed this year, that's exactly what it was. Like there was sign for Jesus 500 yards. And if you were 500 yards back from where I killed this deer, there was way more sign than where I killed this deer. But where I killed this deer is where it started to get thick and the sign kind of petered off. And I know we had jumped bucks out of there before, so I felt like this is the crux. Like this is the
ambush point.
Yep. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. And I would have never. I mean, I killed a smaller buck there last year or whatever, but like I didn't put everything together until, like I said, like listening to these podcasts and doing these things, and that was a big part of it. And that is what I took away from like the things that you had said. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that was exactly what happened. I mean, he was coming back to bed late, and I killed him. I mean,
yeah.
And he stood there for a long time. Like, I just got lucky and saw him just standing there looking around, making sure that it was safe. And apparently he thought it was safe enough, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's what I mean, I love that kind of talk. I love that kind of breakdown, and yeah, it's very easy to talk yourself into, oh, this looks good enough, I'm gonna hunt here tonight or here this morning, when you know, my favorite saying is do what's hard and do what's right, and sometimes that is continuing to push on and not settle. So yeah, that's awesome, man. I didn't know that. Very humbled to hear that, and that's a cool story for sure, and we may discuss after this podcast a little more on that. So that's cool.
But I mean, that was really it. I mean, it was like I knew like exactly where I needed to be because I knew where we had been in there earlier, and I saw where everything stopped, and I said, okay, well, there's a main trail. Here's where I need to be, and that's it. So like, from that perspective, from the scouting perspective, from the, we talked about this prior to the podcast. We talked about like, all right, so all these forums have Facebook, right? So not the forums per se, because if you're on the forum, you're like, I feel like you're next level because
it used to be.
Well, no, but I mean like, I feel like the forums, like if you are not on the Facebook forum, if you're on the Hunting Beast, or if Whitetail Experience started a forum, you would have to seek that out and find it. And you wouldn't necessarily be looking for the gear talk. You would want the nuts and the bolts of it. Mm-hmm. So, from that perspective, like we've kind of all fallen into this gear. It's got to be stand, it's got to be sticks, it's got to be saddle, it's got to be platform, it's got to be the lightest, it's got to be like what rope, it's got to be like, should we mod this, should we do that? But from that tactics side of it, like where do you think like your money should be spent? So if you had, in this I think is a realistic number for this guy, right? This public land guy, this mobile hunting guy, this married guy, couple kids, like whatever. So if you had $2,400 a year, $200 a month, and you were going to budget your whole time, your whole, your dollars, everything from January to December to budget it.
Oh, this is cool. I bet, did you hear me getting a paper?
I think how and I think when would you spend your money? Because you got to buy tags. You have to take into consideration.
Oh, tags are important too. Well, if he's not experienced, he may not fill the first one. So.
But you got to think about, we're looking at when hunting season is. We have to look at when Black Friday is. We have to look at Christmas. We have to look at, we have to look at 12 months, $200 a month. Would you spend $2,400 in January and say,
no, because something may come out.
Okay, so how would you go about this?
Okay, we're going to start this whole process in January, and we don't have a bow, correct?
Well, we'll say that you're coming off of private land, so you might have some permanent sticks and maybe a $30 hang-on stand. Maybe you have a bow that has the movable, like say 4 copper pins that you can move up and down.
We got a junk bow. Okay.
No release. That's where you're coming from.
Okay. And do we have access to that private anymore or no?
Nope. You're
Okay.
strictly public.
All right. And we got 2,400, or you want to make it 2,000?
Nope. I want $200 a month.
Okay. And we start. Okay. So we got $200 a month. It's January, so it's a month-ish ago. You're gonna hunt public land. You've never done anything.
And you're talking gas. You're talking scouting.
Yep.
You're talking trail cameras. The whole works.
Okay. We do not have any trail cams.
You have 2, but they're not cell cams. You have 2 in
perfect,
cards.
Perfect,
you don't have any
perfect.
batteries. They're
So
dead.
January. I'm gonna let's see here. I don't want to burn too much money early. I'd rather be sitting here September timeframe and have a lump sum of cash. So this is just me speaking out loud. Let's do 4. Let's do 4 scouts. There's 4 weekends in January. And, I don't care if this guy can only go for the first 2 hours of daylight and then he's got to get back home to take his daughter to swim lessons. Or maybe he can go after work if he can walk 2 miles or 7. I don't care. Let's go ahead and pencil in here 4 scouts. So let's call that $20 a day. That's 80-ish bucks. I'm a fan of round numbers. Let's say he buys lunch, which he shouldn't do. Let's call that $100 spent. There in January. So $100 gone. February comes around. That's currently the month we're in. We had some snowstorms. What does he buy? Knowing what I know, and I don't know too much about saddles. Was there any sales that I can think of? I'm gonna push pause on that. I'm gonna tell him to get the XOP Vanish, and we'll just use that. I think it's on the website, 180 to 150-ish mark. Maybe he buys it used, because there is a lot of going on the used sites these days. So let's pencil in, just for conversation's sake, 180. We'll spot that one a little high. So we've blown just shy of $300 at this point. Do we do any scouting in February? Let's get 2 more. Go ahead.
Let's say that he buys into the hype for the shed hunting. So he's like, I need to get out shed hunting. Now, whether that's in February or March, like that's into the equation, because that's the talk of it.
Yeah, I was gonna give him 2 weekends in the scouts in February, so like 50% of them, and then March let's assess. And just because generally, so I live in Ohio. You guys can't scout as much as I can because you guys are still in the snow. I know that enough from speaking to guys in Wisconsin and Michigan. So I'm
we got
speaking
those
from
big
Ohio, Kentucky, probably Southern Illinois. Northern Illinois gets a lot of snow, but Southern Illinois is probably a little less. So let's throw in 2 scouts there. So another $40 there in February. March is a big time.
You got shows, you got
and he might be able to pick up like a good deal. At shows, traditionally, not in a COVID year, just I think a lot of the expos are canceled, but yeah, a lot of times you can get good deals at shows. We're gonna spend some money in March, I think. Let's go with some sort of whether it be a guy off Facebook Marketplace or a show special or whatever. Let's pencil in like $150. He's got to find himself some sort of outer garment type bow hunting jacket that's versatile, something that's more for November to January time frame. I'm thinking one of the, go ahead.
I would say, what would be your recommendation for that?
Yeah, that's that, dude. No brainer for me is that Predator micro fleece. You can pick whatever pattern tickles your fancy. It's got wind blocker. You can bow hunt with that thing in layers up to late season. That's probably my go-to. I get that question a decent amount in the DMs. Hey, I'm looking for a better, do all bow hunting jacket from November to January, and that's the one I recommend. So let's pencil that 150-ish. Because I think that's on the website for like 120, 130. But maybe this guy wants to buy the KUIU version or whatever. So let's just pencil in 150. That's a nice round number. March, we're probably let's do a 50% scout. And let's get a rough total for the quarter at this point. I'm doing accounting math here. That's 200, 300, 450. So I'm just south of $500 through the first quarter, I think. At this point, Adam, it's looking like this guy could upgrade his bow if he wanted to buy like that icon or something of that nature. But that may open a can of worms of arrows. I don't think we're going to buy that just at this point. In the summer, let's go ahead and pencil in June, July, and August. I got my notes here. Let's pencil in. He's got to get sticks. We've got to stand at this point. We need some sort of stick. So whether it's a Hawk 4-pack for like what are those, like 115-ish, or like XOP has talked about their doubles, I got to believe those are going to be a great price point.
Well, here's the thing. Like I bought both of those. I bought the 4-pack of Hawks off Camel Fire for $100, and I bought the Black Friday special of XOP 4-pack doubles at $100 a piece. So,
well, the XOP double. Oh, yeah, XOP. I meant the 2-step that's coming out this summer.
Okay,
those could be killer.
Hey, nobody knows about those. So, I mean, if you've got inside information,
we talked about them on the recent DeQuisto series podcast. Just over 2 pounds, like 2.1. They might come in right at 2 pounds. Pretty similar step design, but yeah, I gotta believe price point wise, I'm not allowed to disclose that at this time, but I gotta believe those are going to be in the conversation. What other are there any other sticks between 100 and 150 that a guy could pick up a 4-pack for?
A 4-pack, no. I mean, you only have the Hawk doubles, or like the closest thing right now is the new Noviks that are coming out, the double steps that are going to be like right about $200. But I mean, I'm a giant proponent of the APIs, and they're like it's such a weird thing because they only come out like right before the season and they sell out immediately. They come out at $99. They immediately put them down to $79 for a 3-pack, and you have to buy them right then. But you talk about no moving parts, that pop you were talking about with the muddies, like,
yep.
I mean, they're an amazing stick, but they're from the accountant side of it,
they're a little bit tougher to get a hold of. The Hawks, you pretty much can sit for once a month on Camo Fire and pick up.
Yeah, but from the accountant side of it, they say we're only going to make this amount of sticks. We're going to put them out right now. We're going to sell as many as we can at $99, and then we're going to sell them. And then when they're gone, they're gone. And we're going to count on this amount of money every year. That's what they do.
Let's pencil in the summer. By the end of the summer, he's got to pick up $150 in sticks. He can buy whatever ones he tickles his fancy, or his buddies talk him into.
He's going to buy 2 Lone Wolf Custom Gear doubles, and he's going to kill like Byron Horton. That's his plan.
but then he misses out on half the bucks. But no, I don't think I would steer somebody newish to that route. You don't want to give somebody the keys to the Cadillac. You don't toss those keys to the 16-year-old. You let him drive the old Chevy Malibu that's 10 years old.
Mom CRV, right?
That's right. That's right. So we're going to put $150. He can buy whatever sticks he wants. We're doing pretty well here. Doing some rough math. We got some play money. It looks like you gave me a substantial chunk of change. That's for sure.
But
Looking
he
at
still
July
needs
and
clothes.
August.
He needs,
We bought one outer layer.
right?
I put 150
What
in
about
for
those
June.
First Light Arrow Wool, like 3/4 length, zip off underwear?
Dude, those are sweet. And dude, I hate base layers that don't zip off. I don't own a pair, but I want a pair. But dude, I'm sending this guy currently, because this guy may retire halfway through the year when he realizes bow hunting is hard. So this guy's rocking Costco base layers, or Black Ovis, the Camo Fire special. We'll put in July. He's allowed to spend $100 on base layers, tops and bottoms.
That's what I give as gifts, right? Like that Camo Fire stuff, that Black Ovis stuff is great.
Dude,
I mean, it really is.
I got a 5-year shirt out of that thing, and it's still kicking. It's probably my favorite. So yeah, we're gonna put in July. We're putting $100 in base layers. Let's call it. He's gonna need one pair of good wool socks. We'll pencil in $30 there. August comes around. Oh, does this guy have boots?
Well, he has boots, but he's got questions because of all of the social media.
Oh yeah, okay. I know I'm somewhere around the 500, 650, 700, 730. So I've spent less than $800 at this point. I was trying to get this guy a bow too, but I'm waiting. Although you don't want to wait much later in August if you're going to buy a bow.
Yeah, but if he has the blueprint, he could buy it in January and understand where his money's being spent. So
yeah, that is true. And I was what kills deer?
So this guy has a set of we're just gonna say just a regular pair of muck.
Oh yeah,
boots. That's what he's got. That's what he's been hunting out of.
Yeah, so he needs a pair of boots. Like I'm something you and he probably should buy this earlier if he's going to do all this walking around, because literally after the first 2 scouting missions, he's going to realize his feet probably hurt from stomping them muck boots around. If he's somewhere here in the Midwest, or maybe he's doing some hills. So he probably should buy boots some point in the year. I don't want to go backwards too much and lose our listeners, but I think boot wise, I've owned some $80-$100 boots, and they'll last a season or two. I think those that I buy some hikers now that are a touch better, especially for the whitetail guy. I think 150 is pretty good. That's what I bought my Keens at.
What Keens do you have?
I have the Duran 2s. They're just a traditional hiker. I have a pair of Solomons that I like too, but they're a little stiffer.
And which ones are those?
Those are the GTXs, but those are $200. And this guy I think can get away with $150. And Keen makes some other cheaper hiker style boots. I think Danner has some decent options in that 150 range. Dave has a pair of their pronghorns, and he's beat the piss out of those.
Well, let me interject real quick on the Keens, because it says you're a Keen guy. Like, so when I was going out west, I ended up buying the Solomon Quest GTX 4s, and they're $300 boots. But right before those, and the GTX 3s are $200 boots, like you said.
Yep.
But where I looked was on the through hiker. Like they were like true, legitimate hiking, guys that are putting, 200 to 300 miles on these boots in 1 year. They're going the whole entire Appalachian Trail. And so Frank, my father-in-law, Uncle Frank for the podcast, bought the Targhee 3s or something. They were like $90. And he wore those all through Colorado. He still wears them today. I mean, they're waterproof. They're Keens. They're amazing boots. He spent less than $100 on them, and they're
Dude,
an
that's a pro
amazing
tip
boot.
right there.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
pro tip. Like, I'm gonna actually. You said it's the tongue or say the name
Targi,
of that month. Targi.
Targi. Yep.
I'm putting this down on my paper because
But that
you
was
know
like the
I.
number one value on the like Appalachian Trail through hiker boot.
hmm Okay, and if it fits the guy's foot right, that's the key. Everyone's got a little different foot, and somebody's looking for something different. But it sounds like he put those through the test. It sounds like you did your research to find others posting similar results. So I think that's the gold stamp. You know what? I think we're going to use that recommendation on this pencil in here. In August, we're going to buy $100 pair of boots, and I think we're going to get a bow for this guy. If we really wanted to pinch pennies and kill deer, I think I would really hesitate about buying a bow. But
I can tell you where I'd point him.
yeah. Let's. I think money wise, I'm feeling like $600-ish gives him a lot of money.
Ooh, that's. I mean, so let me just tell you a little story here
Yeah.
about a man named Adam. Right. So the Carbon Zion, the bow that we're giving away, is $650 for brand new. It's got the new binary Bowtech, the same carbon icon cams. They changed the riser just a hair, but prior to that, that riser has been used since like 2013 on the Carbon Knight. Now the Carbon Knight had really old, like really radical cams, and that bow weighs 3.4 pounds. Okay. That bow is still used. That riser was used on like the Carbon Deploy, which is the Diamond, which is the bastard child of Bowtech, right? It's the same riser, same limbs, just a little bit different cam. So you can buy that Deploy or that Deploy SB, which is the upgraded binary cams. That's the B. For nothing. So you can buy that Deploy SB used at probably $400 for the bare bow. And it is everything that the Carbon Icon is, and it's going to be very similar to the Carbon Zion, except for the molding of the actual grip. And the cams change every year. Diamond uses the lesser of the cams, but even the Diamond Deploy that I have does not have the super radical cams. It has the comfort setting on a regular non-adjustable cam. So I mean, you can buy that bow for dirt cheap, and it's an incredible value. It's a great bow.
Yeah, and you can get a pretty good, some of the second tier bear packages sometimes for the $500 mark. Even like the Matthews Halon, I think right now on the used market is around the $500 mark.
Well, and if you wanted to go, like we've got some listeners that are going to like the Matthews No Cam. I mean, you can buy those for $300 or $400, like straight away.
But that wasn't one of the most loved bows of Matthews of all time.
But it doesn't it doesn't have the same like speed, but it has the comfort, and that's like one of the balances. I mean, it's a little harder to tune, right?
Yeah. So there's plenty of bows out there at that $500 mark. So let's go ahead and pencil in some sort of either used bow or maybe some of the budget-friendly options. $500 bow. Bottom line, this dude, if this bow is like from 2000 and maybe it doesn't fit him 100%, I've fallen victim to that. Actually, my very first bow I bought from a bow shop in Kansas because somebody knew the owner that I knew, and it was probably a half inch too short on a single cam, and I didn't have enough money to do it, and I shot that bow short, for a year and killed I think 2-3 deer with it. But this guy, he's going to get a noticeable upgrade at the $500 mark. He's probably still going to rock that Whisker Biscuit. That's probably a good choice of not spending money and getting a better rest. But he'll probably need arrows if he buys a bow. So August is definitely an expensive, or somewhere in the summer, is probably an expensive output of cash. $500 bow. How much in arrows do we want to pencil in here? 100-ish, or do you think
I'd say
150?
I'd say
Okay.
$100 in arrows. And what do you do for broadheads now? And I guess
Yeah.
where do you stand on the? Uh, are you going to high FOC? Are you going like ranch fairy for sure? Or you? I mean, how are we doing
I'm
this?
not full blown like 700 grain arrow, but you talked about hunting low. Something I do set myself up for is I'm 30-inch draw, 550 ish grains. Yeah, I'm shooting a fixed blade. I've got the base six. I've got some slick tricks that fly really good. And then, but as a budget friendly, I like that Q80 X's. I think is a good head. Slick tricks are a good head. They're not as strong as blades. Magnus, the Black Hornet, that's a no-brainer there. But when you hunt low like I do, you tend to have a lot of quarter two type opportunities, which I'm not afraid of. Jared Scheffler talks about he loves those quarter two and frontal opportunities on the ground. So being low, that shot angle gets it happens, but it's not the worst thing if you're prepared. So that's kind of where I said those are a few, the Q80 Exodus, Slick Tricks, and Magnus. Those are all in that same kind of price point, as far as heads are concerned. I'm not the best guy to tell people what arrows to buy, but I do like a little bit heavier arrow. I think the Mayhems are a touch heavier, and you could get some inserts and build those out, or heck, call the insert companies. You could probably tell them, here's my budget, here's total grains, and that's why they got good guys on their customer service. I've heard a couple of those aftermarket insert companies do a good job of setting people up right. So yeah, let's pencil in $100 there. Okay, now we're rolling into the heart of the season. Let's get a quick tally of how much we spent. We know we're roughly around 500 for the first quarter. Second quarter is a heavy blow here. Let's see here. 150, that's 280. 5, 6, 700. Oh, we spent a lot of money. 980 says so. So we've roughly spent $1,500. Just this makes it easier, I think, for the listeners. So we've got $900 to essentially play with this fall. We have boots. We have our bow set up, and we've improved that dramatically. We have mobile gear. Man, we're doing really well here, Adam. I hate
Well,
to pause, but
no,
but
I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm saying like, okay, so like, unless you're like in the deep, deep South, like your season is over, like at the end of Q4, right? So, I mean,
mhm.
and as we enter into the season, we need to be like fully spent, right? I mean, I would imagine,
Yeah, yeah. And this guy's going to be going through some gas money as
right?
hunting season. But I think literally at the moment the gun goes off, we spent $1,500 buying used stuff, but bought new boots. We didn't need a new bow, but we bought a used bow to improve that. We got into the mobile game. We got boots to kind of accommodate this new mobile and public land, a lot of mileage type game. That's pretty good, right? Like, am
Hmm.
I overthinking it? And
No,
and if you're,
I mean, we're gonna need tags. So we need to know if we're
yeah,
just hunting our state, out of state, like how we're valuing that sort of thing. But
yeah,
if you're a new guy, like you said, you're probably not filling all your tags. So,
yeah,
I
this
mean,
dude's going 2 states max, dude. I mean,
right.
that's that's kind of my thought at this point. Looking
But you got
looking
nine
at,
hundred dollars to do that. So,
yeah, we got some cash. Let's blow it all. No,
I mean,
but if a guy said, hey, I don't have 2,400, kind of that mark you gave me,
but he might have sticks and he might have
yeah,
a bow and he might, So,
yeah.
I mean, this is great information from a 0 to 100 standpoint,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah. Um, if in knowing what's coming this fall, September, October, November, um, what state is this guy in? Is he in the Midwest somewhere?
I mean, if I'm going to look at like my base for Patreon,
Listening audience. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
no. this show is based on like the people that support us directly.
Supported. That makes perfect sense.
So it's going to be um, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
or it's going to be like New York, Maryland,
Oh
South
wow. Okay.
Carolina, like West Virginia. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not talking on easy states to hunt, and I don't mean like easy by like deer standards. I mean like hunting pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, that helps. We'll
So
get to the
so
second
so so
tag.
so here we go. Give me a second tag in Ohio,
Second tag in Ohio is not a bad option for a guy in Michigan. It's
or
the first state
or West
there.
Virginia. I mean, so when I hunted the first 4 years I hunted Ohio, I never saw an Ohio tag
Mm-hmm.
plate. I only saw West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana. Um, yeah, those are the plates that I saw
Yeah.
hunting
The, the
Ohio.
the secret's out here on this state, and we're the fifth most pressured state as far as bow hunters per square mile. And I've spent some time hunting some states to the west. Um,
Come up
there's
here,
less
let's have some
people.
fun.
Say what?
I said, come up here, let's have some fun.
Well, but if I was going to go north, wouldn't I go to Wisconsin?
I mean,
Earlier season start time of September 15th. Like if this is a budget hunt, if tags are within $50 over, I could almost go 2 times to Wisconsin because it starts September 15th.
oh yeah,
And
oh yeah.
caliber of buck is no secret. It's better there.
Well, I'm just talking.
Um,
If you're
yep.
if your Ohio secret's out, like, come on, Byron, I got a
I
challenge
would
for
never
you.
tend. Yeah, yeah. But like look at Kentucky, Tennessee,
Yeah.
Indiana. Indiana's the most overslept.
Oh, 100. That
State
that's
there
that's out. It's
is.
on my list.
Yeah, the only negative to Indiana is the later half of the season kind of sucks. To put it bluntly, they got a 2 week gun rifle season starting November 15, and then there's like a 1 week break, and then it's muzzle loaders. And no offense, but a muzzle loader is a pretty much a 200-yard rifle these days, for the most part. But yeah, it's their late season doesn't set up as good or as friendly, compared to some of the other states of Kentucky. Illinois sets up really well, but it's a heavy price tag. And it's probably a little farther from your East Coast guys.
Right.
But going into season, if this guy is located in Michigan, located in Pennsylvania, he's got to kill his home bucks first. And then that's something too. I'm not a huge proponent of all these guys saying, let's go do a public land challenge somewhere, because for me, it's tough enough to kill a good buck here in my home state. And I spend a lot of time here.
But the difference is like I mean, so for Michigan, when you're like from your uh trail cam setup,
Mm-hmm.
like the buck to my right and the buck in front of me are both 100-inch bucks, and you're talking about, is it a 120 or a 130? Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
like it's and I do not want to downplay this, and I do not want to upsell Ohio, but I think like a 120-inch buck or a 100-inch buck in Ohio is a lot easier to come by than
Hands down.
Michigan
Yeah.
on every single day of the week.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 Let's speak in general terms. In 99% of hunting scenarios, if you had ground in Ohio to kill a 100-inch buck, it's a lot easier than killing a 100-inch buck in
So
Michigan.
so let's talk about if you're new guy to public land hunting and you just want to kill any buck, or
Yeah, or a deer.
or you want to kill something that you can respectively put on your wall, from Michigan, from
Yeah.
Jersey, Maryland, South Carolina, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Some
Like,
of those states you just mentioned, I would almost maybe lean to Tennessee, Kentucky, because you could go twice because the openers are so much earlier as a secondary tag. Because that's kind of that's a nice ad as somebody who bought a Kentucky tag last year. I literally went for a weekend before I could even bow hunt my home state. and Dave almost shot let's call it a 125er.
But the thing is like it might suck ass to shoot a deer in February, but when does your season end? I mean, where it starts is one thing, but when does it end?
Yeah, but I'll also tell you my buck sightings after this the first gun week are very dismal, despite what Mr. Eberhart says. Um, that dude's an assassin. But yeah, we as Whitetail Experience have killed 0 public land Ohio bucks in 5 years. I don't know if any of us have ever killed a buck after gun season.
Well, check out the Vitals Live because John Eberhart talks about exactly how you can do that in the late season.
Yeah, but yeah, when was the last time John did that?
Well,
That's another fact. I would ask him that. I think that's a fair question to ask John. If it was 2001, that might be a different story versus you're talking to 5 guys, and we're not near the hunters John has, dude. Look at the bucks he's killed. He's from Michigan, Harder State. He's been doing it a long time, doing it at a high level. But we're 5 guys who live here. Myself, I've killed in the rut / pre-rut the last, I don't know, 10 years. But like the core team still hunting late season on and off, nobody's killed a buck. Just because it's tougher after that gun week.
My question is, I guess where I would point you is how many of those guys, how many of those years have killed no bucks prior to that?
Killed no bucks prior to that. No, they've all killed bucks.
Yep, and so I think that's where.
Yeah.
I think that's where it becomes a little bit more like filling that second tag or not being out of state and having a time frame. I think plays a heavy, and that's one of the things like I try to put on John, because of that exact scenario, right? So if you didn't kill anything, then you still have this monkey on your back that you're chasing, right? And and I guess I would go back to our scenario here where we're having this guy who is all monkeys, right?
Yeah,
no matter what state.
He's probably killed a few deer, but he hasn't killed a 100-inch buck, and he's now got to do it a little different manner. He's getting into it. You're right. I would definitely. He's going to reserve some cash for a second deer, but I think for the month of September, let's go ahead and paint a picture of maybe I do have a trail cam. Do I have to use all this money?
You don't have to. You can save it.
Okay.
Pocket it. You can spend it on your wife. And that might be a valuable asset,
dude. Babysitting money, or I do food delivery sometimes for my wife. Like, hey babe, like you don't have to cook dinner, and the key is to get like two plates, or dude, even if it's something like Panera or Jimmy John's delivered to the house while I'm on my bow hunting trip, I always get 2, so that way she's got a lunch for the next day or something. That's a pro tip coming from a guy that does some traveling for hunts or has to be gone for little weekends here and there for whatever obligations. That's a pro tip right there. So yeah, let's pencil in. Let's not burn the out of state tag necessarily. I do think this guy maybe some trail cams are key, and here's something I'm going to pencil in here. Let's go 2 muddy trail cameras. You can find them on Camofire for $55. I ran a 10 budget-friendly cameras in the price to performance level, video mode, ease of use with menu. That camera seems to be a pretty decent option for a budget cam. Let's buy 2 of those, and this too. If this guy gets some pictures of 4-pointers or a racked 8, I mean, how much more motivation does he have now to hunt? That's something not talked about enough in bow hunting or even a cell cam game. If you get a cell, you get a picture of a good buck, you're gonna go hunt hard. You're gonna do what's right. You're gonna do extra scouting. You may go that day. It's gonna rain on you because, man, maybe he'll get up and move right before that rainstorm. So So I'm going to pencil in two of those cameras, $110. He's also got, let's call it 40 or $50 in tags. How much for you guys to get in the woods and hunt your home state between license and tag?
Yeah, I think
50?
yeah, I think $50 is 2 tags and a small game.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So that's September at this point. Leaving knowing, okay, our season hits the last weekend there, so you may have $20 in gas. If you're hunting Kentucky, that opener happens. Wisconsin, the guy may start hunting as well, and be spending 20, 40. There's weekends I spend a lot of money on gas, so I don't, knowing that could be an expense that month. He's probably got anywhere between 20 and 50 in gas. Should we go ahead and pencil that in?
Yeah, I would say
September.
$50 in gas. Just
$50 in gas.
no
Okay, so
matter
our
where you're
September,
going.
yeah, our September total there is 210. And that gets you hunting. That gets you hunting. Your home state potentially. October rolls around. What is this guy going to spend money on? Really, just gas. If he can get to his location and doesn't take any trips, like he's out gas money. I think at this point. Can you think of anything we've overlooked that, hey, it's October 15th, this guy's trying to kill deer, and besides gas, is he needing anything else?
Well, I mean, I think at that point he is going to be second guessing himself. So it's going to
Mm.
be like that one spot that he checked out, or where he has his cell cam, or where he has his camera. So I think, how do you approach that like mental game, as far as like, you might have money left, but where do you prioritize your time? And I think that
Yeah.
you put a great you preface that greatly by saying, I'm gonna spend money on my wife with some food deliveries and these types of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, how are you approaching that sort of thing?
Yeah. So I guess mid October, late October, I've
Do you
done
believe
some
in the
trips.
Do you believe in the October low?
Um, no, I don't do a ton of hunting from the 10th through the 20th. I believe it's more important to take the kids to the pumpkin patch. But like this year, I think I killed the 22nd ish,
But that
and I've
might
killed.
that might be where your dollars need to be spent, right?
Yeah, yeah. You definitely need to have that family pumpkin patch, especially if this dude's got kids. You gotta knock that out early in October. Don't put that off, even if it's like a Sunday afternoon. Like, October 6th is not near as valuable as October 26th, for the most part. Um, Obviously, you see you gain a visual on a buck doing something dumb October 6th, kill him. But in broad spectrum, go get the pumpkin patch done anytime before the 15th of October. So we could put a little family day in there. Let's say he blows oh let's dude, he might do $100 between, maybe he takes his wife and they go watch a football game at a nice restaurant one night, and then they take the kids to the pumpkin patch on a weekend. He could blow $100 there, and we're just going to call that family time. This is important. Somebody's got a girlfriend, substitute that for girlfriend time. But make it known that, hey, like maybe later, let's let them know that October bow hunting push is coming. Late October, November bow hunting push is coming. So yeah, let's put $100 there of family time. I guess we got to answer the question: is this guy going to go to another state? Maybe he's got a hunting buddy that's a little more advanced. Is he going to go somewhere?
Well, let's talk about, he's a Michigan guy, or
Yes,
or whatever.
Adam, you're
And
allowed to ask selfish questions here.
well,
Fire at will.
I mean, I can do whatever I want to. I got a podcast, right? So it's all a write off, right? You're an accountant, so I got a different thing. But the the fact of the matter is that, like, if I want to kill a 100-inch buck in 7 days, I can do it a lot easier. I can do it every fucking year in Ohio or Indiana,
Yeah, yeah.
then
I think at a minimum, you've got to buy an Ohio or Indiana tag.
right. So that's the thing is like if I want to put a deer on my wall because I don't have that level and I'm saying okay like, this is where I want to spend my money.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all the equipment. It's just a matter of like I got 7 days to do it. Where do
Yep.
I prioritize my time? Then
Yeah, I don't think I go in October at this point,
well I mean John and
but
I have like we've gone like I feel like in my life right now, I think I could go to Ohio for your opener. If I had 5 days in your opener, I can kill a 100-inch deer. I could probably kill a Pope and Young your opening week with my skill set, but um, because I feel like your deer, the deer in Ohio, are bigger, so I can
mhm.
kill a 2.5 in Ohio on a pattern easier than I can kill one in Michigan. And your season starts earlier. And that
Yeah,
is, John and I have had this conversation, and it's like, from our experiences in Ohio, I think a Michigan guy going to Ohio, like for the opener, understanding and not necessarily going to anywhere Ohio, but going to Hill Country, Ohio, like I think you could go um, find some points, find some leeward sides, and some. I mean, listen to your podcast with Jake Bush, and he's killing booners. And it's like the deer that he's passing or like whatever. It's like the deer that you're passing. Like I would kill them with that $170 tag and be elated, right?
hmm
And that's just kind of the way that I approach it, right? And I, tell me I'm wrong, please, because I mean
um,
it's my
it's
$170. I
it's
mean,
not a terrible thought. Um, it is not a terrible thought. 100 incher. Dave passed 100 incher October 5th ish this year. It was somewhere. Let's call it October 5th, October 6th.
and when does your
It's
season
called
open?
the 20, like generally anywhere between the 28th and 30th. It's whatever the last Saturday in September is.
Right.
Um,
So give me a
so
week down there.
yeah. Bottom line, that like, but if I passed any other 100 inchers that time of year, I'm trying to recall. I don't, and maybe that's just my hunting and scouting and blah blah blah. I don't see a lot of them. Nobody can compare themselves to Jake Bush because I talked to Jake Bush off there. I know how much that dude walks. I know
Mm-hmm.
how much he
Yep.
drives. I know where he drives,
Yep. 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 Yep.
and what he sacrifices to pass Pope and Youngs is a lot. Um, so I don't think that, well, and he like so I think he only he did have some good early season hunts, but he's an early season guy if you look at his track record.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I'm trying to think here. I I might have only seen a 4 point before the buck I killed on October 20th, and that's a decent amount of scouting, decent amount of card pulls.
But the thing is like
I'm not a
you're hunting different deer, right? You're not targeting 100-inch deer. You're not
yes,
targeting
correct.
120s. So I think that there's a difference there, but I also think like here's from new guy perspective, right?
Yeah.
Is if he starts there the last week of September, he's got that tag until February or whenever you guys end.
Yeah. I thought we were only going on one trip. That was my only caveat to this
Well, but who
purchase.
knows when he kills? I mean, so that's the
Yes. Yeah. My thing is if you're gonna make a one bow hunting trip to somewhere else, you killed your buck, I believe, sometime around the rut. Me personally, I have gone out of state
I killed mine
And
October 9th.
oh, shit.
I killed it on Byron Horton time.
No, I am not a pre October 20 killer. My thing is if I go out of state, and I've gone out of state for shit, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years, and I've never been on a piece of ground or very limited, I can throw darts in the rut or in the pre-rut and see bucks because they're just on their feet more and kind of create the 100-inch opportunity. I've passed a couple of those in Indiana, year one, never been there. Kentucky this year, I oh man, I was very close to killing two 200-inch or two 100-inch bucks, we'll call it, and two 125 to 135s. But it was rut, and I could throw darts at okay, I could kind of see stuff that would get those deer to funnel through areas. It was just easier to dart throw in the rut versus early season. But yeah. Bottom line, if this guy does want to buy a tag and he's in Michigan, for example, 100%, he's got to buy an Indiana or an Ohio tag, full send.
Wisconsin.
I think that's.
I mean,
Wisconsin's well, yeah, because then you get the September 15 opener.
Yep.
He could go twice in
Yeah,
a season
easy.
pretty easily. So and it's two. They're all the Ohio's. I think the Indiana's the cheapest unless you want to get the combo of a firearm and bow. But Ohio and Indiana, they're within, I think, $40 of each other. The Wisconsin, if you go year one, is only $80. Can I use that for this example?
Yeah. I mean, so that's the thing is Dan Infall, he told us, he's like, if you guys tag out earlier, you want to go to Wisconsin, it's $80 and I'll put you on some giants. And we're like, what?
Yes.
Yeah,
right,
so that's a great.
We're penciling in Wisconsin.
Example.
We came to that logic pretty good there, especially year one. You could buy it for $80. It's definitely a better hunting state than say Michigan is as far as the bucks are concerned.
Quality deer.
Yes, quality deer. So yeah, that's a good use of it. So we're under $200 in October, and we spent $100 on family and $80 on an out of state tag. That guy. Now if he buys that $80 tag, does he go once in October? Should we pencil in $100, 50 in gas, 50 in bullshit, and probably 50 in gas back?
I would say $150 in gas because I think if this guy is going to go to Wisconsin, I would say negate the bullshit. He's going there to try to level up, right?
Yep. Okay, 150 in gas. Okay. November rolls around. This is pretty much you tell this guy, look, I don't care what you do actually any time in November. You guys have an early gun season if this guy's in Michigan. So bottom line, he's got a.
Well, September is you have a youth hunt and then you have a early doe season, but you don't have a real early gun season.
Yeah, but you guys have a November 15 gunner,
yeah.
November 17 gunner.
Yeah.
So this dude literally has the first 2 weeks to get it done in his home state.
Yep.
With a bow. So he's going to be burning vacation and a lot of gas. How much do I spend on a day in gas? Roughly. So if he's going to hunt 5 days in a row, it's easily $100, if not closer to 150.
Yeah, I would say in my rig is
most guys take a week of vacation.
Yeah, it's probably $60 a tank, and so we're doing 2 tanks of gas. So
yeah, so this guy's probably I think easily by the time maybe he stops and gets it's tough to food prep for a whole week, so you do end up buying some fast food. I feel like. Mm-hmm. That week of the rut, maybe some extra coffees or whatever in the morning. Let's pencil in 2 or 250 for your November 1 week rut push. Most guys take a week off. What do you think? 250?
Yeah, that's
we have money. That's money to blow. Okay, and all we have left. You know what we're gonna do next? In the second half of November, since this guy's in Michigan, he's got to either go to another state at this point. He's got the Wisconsin tag. I don't know how the later half of Wisconsin works. Somebody's going to rip us a new one on this podcast. I don't know. I know their gun season is in November, but I don't know if it's like the third weekend or how long it's good for. And I don't know if that $80 tag is just bow. I don't know that. Do you know that?
I don't.
Okay. We're not going to. I guess this guy's going to go back to Wisconsin in December then. We're going to assume he can bow hunt then. Just for conversation.
Right. Yep.
We had put in earlier $150-ish. This time, is he going to spend more or less? I don't know. But we could put 200 pretty quickly here and probably be good. And so, rough cost, we were at $1,500 spent going into essentially the core of the season. Let's see here, 210, 150, that's 360, that's 600, 800 more dollars. Okay, we barely did it. We blew a lot of money there in the from September to December. I got us a rough total of $800-ish. So that puts us right at 2,300. I think that's a pretty decent job for your audience. To picture spending that kind of money and what that does.
Right, and so you end up with $100 left.
And we bought a bow.
I know,
shit.
But I mean, like, so you went through that month by month and in real time, kind of how you would spend it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, even in this little scenario, in retrospect, like, where do you think you could have done a better job, or where do you think, like, where would you prioritize your money? Like, not being like month by month, but like overall. I mean, if you could, you obviously have a pen and paper in front of you. So, like, where was all the money spent, and where do you think you could have spent extra money and maybe saved?
So, the bow is kind of the dumb money, or like a guy who has a decent bow, like he wouldn't have to spend that money going forward. You know?
But you could say the same thing for sticks or stand.
Yeah, if you already had some of that.
Yep.
Because that's something like even standing sticks, you can buy that once and it'll ride you out for a few years. If I look at this paper and I say what was smart money, I think our Wisconsin tag was a nice thought, because for $80 we can go once in September if time allows, kind of before the Michigan opener. And that's the cheapest out-of-state tag of the 3 states we discussed. The $100 of family time, tough to argue that's not smart money. The only thing that I kind of look at, and if maybe we were doing this exercise for say year 2, maybe instead of going to Wisconsin yourself, let's say this is for you for next year, and you're looking at a $2,000-ish budget. I would tell you, if you're going to come to Ohio, you would have to, like, it'd be good to come scout even for a long weekend or a 2-day or on the piece of public you intend to hunt in the fall, just because that'll get you a lot of, it could get you a really good head start.
So do you so my experience has been scouting Ohio in April. And I don't know if you've been to Ohio in April. You live there.
The bear shit in the woods?
There is millions of ticks. Like, the deer that I killed, when I brought the cape to them, they said, we've never seen this many ticks, this many variety of ticks. We have never seen this many ticks on a cape in my lifetime. So if you were going to scout Ohio from out of state, when would you do it?
Yeah, February, March. That way you're mostly done with snow. I myself have an out of state scouting trip in March to another state. That's just that'll help me, kind of learn that place significantly better, and start getting the blueprint on a piece of public. So yeah, that's a good use of time, and money, especially if you don't have, or if you already have some of this gear that I felt like the bow needed upgraded, and stand and six became essential because this guy didn't have anything that could help him mobile hunt.
All right. Well, I mean, like, this isn't this is no bullshit. This has like been one of my favorite podcasts because like these are things that these are questions that I answer every day, and these are questions that like I go back and forth on like how to do it, and I live in like a shit whitetail state. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for the and again, this is like when I talk to Brandon Egan and I say, "Yeah, I'm the world's worst bow hunter," and he's like, "Yeah, I can see that." So this is what
Yeah.
I would do. Yeah, So when you're like, I live in a shit whitetail state, you're like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Well, it was crazy when we got to the $1,500 mark there at the end of August, and we kind of had a lot of stuff ready to go. Um, like that's not like 1,500. That's fathomable, for even a guy who's 22 about to get his first job, or maybe he's working in the trades, and maybe he already has a decent enough bow, and so he's got a pretty good head start here. This could be done um, for a limited budget, and as far as gear, we didn't pick anything stupid elaborate. A lot of it was, um, you know, and not junk equipment, from Keen boots to an XOP tree stand. Those are solid like gear items.
Right, and to be honest with you, like the fun part of this podcast, and like I said, this has like been one of my favorites, is like if you were to go and look at the record book and you were to say, from the Hanson buck all the way down to like the lowliest of low um, Pope and Young buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it isn't the Sitka fanatic jacket that made that hunt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like the red and black lumberjack, the Dan Fitzgeralds, the Pete Shepleys of the world. Um, the
Jared Scheffler, he
yeah,
hunts in like Wrangler stretches and like,
yeah,
earth tone
yeah. I mean,
crap. And
like for guys that are just starting out, it isn't. It the gear doesn't matter, and that's the whole point of this whole podcast. Is like gear is whatever it's going to be. Jared Scheffler kills deer off the ground with a longbow and a flannel. If you look at Zach from the hunting public, like his one of the guys that he respects most is Jared Scheffler.
mm-hmm.
Simply from that perspective, and if we go back down the line, is like it ends up being the iconic Fred Bear quote of "sit down, shut up, and be quiet." Right?
It's so funny, Adam, you say this. And I might be able to send you a minute of my film for this year. I literally have put the finishing touches, but the opening minute, I talk about how I was tricked by the industry and how I thought products killed deer, and then I kind of go into the four core beliefs of what I think kill deer, and it's gas, scouting, effort, and time. And those are kind of the four things that I feel like, they're kind of a theme for this year's film that I'll be putting out, because I feel very tricked. I was so obsessed with deer early, and didn't have the best like mentor slash how do I go about this and try and get on better bucks, and I'm all about whitetail. I literally would watch the Outdoor Channel and thought I had to buy those products everybody was pitching me. I really thought like, that was how you did it. So yeah, this has been a cool conversation for somebody getting into it. I think the themes of it's not about the gear, but these will get you in a situation, and then it's up to you to kind of learn the craft.
Well, I feel like, I mean, and it sounds like you may be on the same spectrum, but it's like I feel like I'm going backwards. It's like last year I killed a 4 point, right? Like literally like a spike with brow tines, and I posted it on social media, and people were like, "Thank you so much for posting that because I really appreciate like that someone with a platform, i.e., we have a platform, right?
Yeah.
Um, saying that that's okay to do." And this year I killed a, you know, 98-inch buck on Michigan public land with a bow, and I was like, I don't feel like that represents like the way that I mean, I didn't put in the work to kill that deer. Um, and people are like, oh, that's crazy. And like, it's like I ended up with like this most beautiful, like longbow. It's the most amazing thing. And I would love to kill a deer in khaki pants, a flannel shirt, and uh, with this longbow next year. But it's just like I don't feel like I have the like skill set to do it. But like that's like what I'm more drawn to than any of the things that the industry says that you have to do. And I think that that's awesome that like those are because that's what I wanted to get out of this podcast, right? Like Jason Koviak, he hunts with lone wolf stuff. He hunts in his work clothes with a beanie on, and he is the most staunch Michigan proponent for the, I guess, all the right things. Um, if you can say it like that. And it's like, I don't think I'm a good enough hunter to just take this new longbow out there, but it's like, I guess if you're gonna fail, like fail huge, you know what I mean? Like, I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of the way that I feel about it. So for you saying that, it makes me feel like that's more of a viable option. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you've talked about on this not this particular podcast, but on your podcast in general, just how much you've grown from all these conversations with guys. Um, I gotta believe the encounter rate you have now is way better than what it used to be, and by making that weapon that you want to go pursue it with, like maybe you're gonna get a few more encounters and one goes the way you want it to. Man, bow hunting is all about what you want to make it. I've kind of chosen the journey to maybe kill slightly above average bucks on public land or whatever, and it doesn't even have to be public. I've got a family 18 acres. I get a kick out of doing all the timber work out there. I don't have necessarily some food plot game, but I cut trees and I hinge cut, I girdle cut, I hack and squirt and clear cut invasive species. I do it all out there, but there's just not a lot of good bucks out there. But it's it's whatever you want it to be, man. I don't think you gotta. The industry now is way more accepting of whatever it is. The guys, somebody posts 100-inch buck in Michigan now on Facebook. You know what? There's a crowd of guys like, dude, that guy killed a stud. And 10 years ago, that was not the case. They just said, oh God, that guy killed a 100-incher. You know, um, it's way. I don't know. I think the industry's changing, and everything's, despite the negativity of Facebook, it's a little more accepting. I don't think there's quite the big buck shaming there used to be 5-10 years ago.
Yeah, but I don't think like I worry about big bucks because I really don't care what other people think. And
Mm-hmm.
it, but I think you're 100% right, and that I mean, I would have more than 100% rate of big buck encounters um, since having all of these conversations, because the fact of the matter is like you can listen to the information, but if you don't do anything with it, then it doesn't really matter. And I've been implementing everything that I can do. And it's not that I'm like disingenuous or just like I'm disenfranchised with like where I'm at right now. It's like I mean, honestly, I don't think like, man, if I killed that 4 point with a longbow, it'd be a trophy. Um, but the other side of it is that like that would be an incredible accomplishment,
Oh yeah.
and that to me is more important. Like for me being more accomplished as a hunter, um, to have those experiences and to be that close and to do those things, um, would mean more to me because from everything that I'm doing, like our goal here and my goal here is not to like in any way put myself on a pedestal. Is almost, I mean, everything that we do is like I'm the frickin' um, self-deprecating guy. I'm the world's worst bow hunter, right? But the other side of that is like all I want to do is just to allow other people to know that it's okay. Like have fun, hunt, kill, do whatever you want to do. Like venison is awesome. Like let's do this thing and like let's have fun. And I want to grow, but I think in Michigan, like taking to taking it to that level makes it like some sort of a fucking pissing contest. So
Mm.
I'd rather like use everything that I've learned to kill deer with the longbow, and that would be so much more fulfilling personally than like killing 100-inch deer after 100-inch deer after 100-inch deer. Because I mean, my thing has been like, man, I'm glad I don't kill big deer because it seems like there's a lot that goes along with it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. As far as what I see from guys doing it who have chose to pursue it at a high level, whatever they um, want to raise the bar in their hunting on private, public, multiple states, kill a big deer in their own area. Like there's work and time involved in that process. It's a you gotta embrace that process and love that process. For me, that's kind of what I like to do. I like that work really hard at something. I've always been motivated to put my effort in on something and see a reward, or I live for that, man. That's something I really love about hunting. Is it's just me, in my experience, and um, so yeah, I mean that's part of what I do for bow hunting. Don't get me wrong, dude. I love the sunrises. I love the catching squirrels running, or seeing a fox. I mean, I love all that stuff. I really like the sunrises, dude. Like the little things. I like a cup of coffee at 2 a.m. as I'm driving to a piece of public. To me, that's all about it. But yeah, I've kind of chosen my own little what fires me up about deer hunting right now, and it's kind of pushing my envelope, if you will.
Well, I'm not afraid of that. I mean, like all that stuff sounds amazing, but what I'm afraid of is like the introspective stuff. Like I I want to enjoy all the things that you outlined. Like I
Hmm.
don't want it to be about the kill, right? I want the pureness of the hunt. And I think like in the space that we live, that's the most difficult portion of it. I mean, that's why it's cool for me to post a 4 point kill and people to be, impressed or
Hmm.
inspired by it, right? Because that's the hardest part is to be okay with like your skill level. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always trying to get better, and I'm always trying to, chase that ghost, if you will. But I think you do a very good job, in what you do, of showing the inspiring notion of that 2 a.m. cup of coffee, or that sunrise, or but you gotta let people know that it's okay to be, me, right?
Yeah.
It's okay to be like the growing Michigan hunter. It's okay to be like chasing whatever, but happy with whatever comes by.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's that's the beauty of hunting. It's a personal pursuit. It's not necessarily a full blown team affair.
So with you, and with the whitetail experience, like in that journey, like where are you guys at currently, and what is the mission statement of the whitetail experience, and how can everybody see like what you guys are all about?
Yeah, I think as far as like a mission statement, it's the brand is targeting me at age 19. It's a very public land mobile dominant brand. If you look at our YouTube and some of our podcasts, that's kind of the focus. And it's those are kind of the best areas to find us, basic social media. But it's just a couple of us guys that decided we were going to start filming it, and it's kind of morphed into a brand built around that experience. And I try to personally produce a decent videography product there, but also our YouTube's full of little tip tactics and that kind of thing. So that's the brand. That's who we are.
Man, Byron, this, like, I'm going to say it in our intro, but like this has been one of my favorite podcasts, because it it speaks to a guy like me, it speaks to our audience, it speaks to everything. But I think you're underselling your ability as a filmmaker, and you continue to inspire me. I mean, he says, oh, there's these little tips and tricks stuff, but like, I mean, if you watch any of his videos on like his budget stuff, and that's why I wanted to bring him on here, like, watch him. He's wearing different clothes. The cuts are incredible, and it's on a 4 to 7 minute video. I mean, he's doing great, great things that you could do probably on your iPhone, and edit to keep the viewer engaged. And that goes back to this whole budget podcast. I mean, he does an amazing job, and I really appreciate it. Byron, where can people follow along with everything that you're doing? And I'm not talking about just like Byron Horton, the Whitetail experience, but what are you involved with?
Yeah. So yeah, I would look up the Whitetail Experience YouTube and Instagram, obviously, and then I do a decent amount of the photo video work related to XOP and Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and I do a decent amount of the editing for Whitetail Addictions with a few great guys on staff there with Hollinsworth and Heath. They both help chip in when needed. And, just outstanding guys. But yeah, that's where you can see my stuff. Some of the photo content is mine as well that you'll see out there. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Man, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate the perspective, because it's not jaded, it's not industry driven by any means, and I think it's really a value to our listeners. So, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, thanks for having me, Adam. And dude, I even took some notes on this, and so I'm pretty pumped about this podcast. Appreciate you having me.
Yep, not a problem, man. Thank you.